Is there an echo?
Yes, I am muted.
Hello? It's coming on your computer.
Hello?
Or your speakers off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Turn your speakers off. You just mute it. There, yeah. So now there should be.
Hello? Because we shouldn't be hearing anything.
Correct.
It's like other people.
Let me join from my phone.
Yes. My good friend Dan Ornelas Lopez.
So
Should join the Zoom
you should
meeting.
join the Zoom meeting and watch it. Okay. I can do this. I'm smart.
You are smart.
I don't know how this works. This is following my brain.
I don't, we shouldn't entertain. I don't know how it works.
That's- That's a really good point, actually. Okay, what for now, we do the and I'll agenda here. Oh, Lord. Just gonna break my things. Check we've done this. That's working. Yes, yes. First.
Well, if Megan's not here, we can remove this chair.
Shawnee, but we don't know for sure that she's.
Yes, right. She doesn't show up just one minute.
Right. Register and join. Oh, he's just trying to. Oh, I have the house part. Okay, we're making progress. I'm gonna drink from there. And then we can try to talk. Okay, see how it goes.
Just knock on the window.
Okay.
Hello? Hello? Yay! Hello? Testing? Testing? 1, 2, 3.
I just raised my hand to try
I can see you.
letting me speak.
Okay, Tyler, I've allowed you to talk. Unmute your mic.
Can you hear me?
You're very quiet, but I can't hear you. Try.
You can hear me? Do we? Hello? Hello? Testing?
Yes.
Testing?
Very quiet.
Testing?
Okay, that's good.
Okay, hold on. Oh, did that get better?
Now, there's a control pad with the volume back here, so I turned it up.
Oh. Genius. And you can hear me okay now?
Yes, you're perfectly clear.
Great.
Just like right here. Just like right here. Where do people comment?
We're gonna be stable. They have people coming through the store.
Right there or?
See what happens.
Yeah, do you want to pull up? Should I just pull up the presentation?
Yeah, it's just what I can see, make sure it works. If we have to mute the room,
When we share?
no, not when we share, just for now. so enjoys. See how much interest people have in this.
Yeah.
Guys have been here, I think, just kind of for one day. I was helping them a month later. They said, "Oh, we were here." That was fun. They were saying,
I love sharing, they would update it.
it was a little, yeah, it was, personal
Yeah.
control, it was just a lot of extremely
Nuclear.
I mean,
It's like the
less.
second half of the debrief burger.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that might be.
And then it was like, if you're loud enough, then you get your questions.
Was
Then you're kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. the only one.
Yeah, okay. Jenna, I can see that she's in there. Okay, so when. She'll just be able to. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, just tell her.
Doing lots of work on that stuff.
There's a lot of.
I'm not. Yeah, well, the days,
Yeah.
Water, so Cali's, all those warehouses out there. Well, Pet City, in the last, it has what's another, they denied it because every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going Really? The only one I know is
Some bigger than one that's out here.
Yeah. Take everybody to come in. Stay in sledge, and we'll go to the room.
Yeah. There's one over by me. Oh, okay. Thank you, though. This is second. Okay, I did do that. I did do that.
You know, all those big guys like to call us. They want to put those next to the place that it's power. They can't kind of make them help. Almost 5 years.
Yeah, wait. Okay, she said, hasn't been doing this since last month. Was just. Well, I was. I literally is doing this. No, it knows. It knows the end of life. Yeah.
It just isn't one that you don't. It's just like it's so messed up.
I know. It's okay. Alright. Very soft today. No sugar. She can even, I know, I do have no pads. I just was like, no one can hear.
All right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you for coming to the NAB Ward 4 meeting. We're gonna start today with the Pledge of Allegiance. So everyone please stand. And Jared, you can start us off, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
We're gonna move into roll call.
Benjamin Johnson,
Present.
John White,
Present.
Jared Souther,
Here. Present.
Larissa Blenny,
Present.
absent at this time. Ernst Burdick. Absent at this time. Kelly Orr. Present. Kelsey Meno. Present. We have a quorum of the Ward 4 Neighborhood Advisory Board.
Thank you. We're gonna go on to A2 public comment. Does anyone in the public have a comment they would like to share with the ward today?
I do have a general comment, Chair. Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the now agenda. The NAB may not take action upon any matter not agendized on today's agenda. When you are called on for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name and you will be afforded 3 minutes. If you are attending in a Zoom meeting and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand at this time. Our first comment is from Ron Christenhuss.
Ron Christenhuss, thank you. Regarding the battery facility. Excuse me. A little tired, a little sore. I think it's just, we need to refocus our priorities. We are overheating our local environment. It's not a secret that we have the warmest city in the nation, 7.5 degrees versus global, which is 2. And all we're doing is putting in a very inefficient method of storing energy. It's maybe 60 to 70% efficient. We're going to lose 10 to 15% putting it in, 10 to 15% taking it out, and an enormous amount of heat is generated when we do that. Add all these warehouses and pavement that we put in, more heat sinks. We're going to overheat our environment. It's not a secret that heat is the #1 killer in weather-related death. So I am very opposed to this. I think we need to rethink what we're doing. Water storage facilities, pumping water into a higher reservoir and letting it come down, repumping it back up is a much more efficient method of producing energy. But so I've stated what I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. A note for the record, Board Member Ernest Burdick has joined the meeting. That concludes all of the public comment I have.
Okay. Is there anyone else who hasn't written down the card yet who would like to say something? All right. Well,
Is there anyone in the Zoom meeting who would like to speak under general public comment? If so, please raise your hand.
I do.
Come on up, sir. You can fill out a card when you're done.
Okay.
You can just step up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Thank you. My short name is Lupe Rodriguez, full name was Lupe Rodriguez. I've been resident in United States, Reno, Nevada for almost 40 years. And the public thing is up in the area where I live, I don't know if I could say the name or not, they never do any surface in our streets. Everything's still the same. And I listen to the Spanish radio because I'm a Mexican, and it says, the state is gonna send you a $500 bill if you blow the leaves into the street. If you don't remove your car from the street when the sweep blow is gonna swing by, we're gonna penalize you. And I'm thinking, why don't you start in repaving the streets that way it's not so many potholes? Or fixing, marking what's the divider, coming or going people. signs, stop signs, safety signs for the kids when they're waiting for the bus. When they were waiting for the bus to pick up, they never had any of those things. The stop signs halfway laid down, a big bunch of trees hanging on top of that thing. You don't even know it's a stop sign right there. One more thing. A police patrol. People racing on those ATVs, they haven't run like this. My backyard landed to the desert. So those ATVs running like hell, you know, just without any tanks, and the little kids try to kick the ball in the street because the parks, and I already have an argument with some of folks over there. I said, I don't know what way you got it, but the park is built for a family, not for a dog. I have 2 dogs, and I walk my dogs to the desert. I never let the dogs to poop in the park. Why? Because I used to work for the Washington School District. I'm retired already. We have a joint facility. And the people, they want to walk their dogs in the park. And the custodian, which I was a custodian, I have to clean up the mess. Okay, no problem. I applied for the job and I got the job, so I do it. Who's gonna pick the pee? Who's gonna clean the pee? I clean the pool, but who's gonna clean the pee? The mama send a little girl, especially in these months when it's so hot, like you say, with that long skirt and a little underwear in it. And the little girl sits in the pee. The lady is gonna complain. I heard that from the secretary, the one girl have a big red mark in her butt. I told him many times, I said, that's because she sat in the wrong spot when she was playing in the park, in the ground for the school. So same thing right here in the park where I live. Dogs everywhere. Lot of people selling drugs, no police activity. What's going on? Well, I mean, you know, 40 years is a long time and I never seen any of those things before, but now it happened. So that's the only comment I have on the public comment, but I feel I'm gonna thank. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? On Zoom? We.
I'll get his information.
Actually, yeah. All right, make sure I'm not skipping one comment, or we'll move on to A3. I need a motion to approve the agenda. I need a motion?
Chair Sabbath, for the record, like to approve, motion for approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
John White, second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none. Agenda is approved. We'll move on to A4, council liaison report. And Megan is not here. No, she is.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not there in person. I have the flu and I'm trying to not get anybody else sick. I know we have some NAB members with babies. My liaison report, council returned from their break in July. Last council meeting last Wednesday, we had a presentation regarding CTAX and the city's revenue and revenue streams within the city and the county and the state. If anyone is interested in that, you can find that on reno.gov. You can watch the meeting or find the presentation or the staff report on the revenue of the city. It's a lot of really great information. We also voted to continue our NABs and have the flexibility to have our NABs where we want. There was some discussion about having them strictly at City Hall, but we were able to continue having them in our wards if we choose. There will also be some other slight changes that are happening in the future, maybe with regard to having more presentations or mandatory presentations from developers and more engagement with the Planning Commission as well. That's my only report right now. I don't know if there's any questions from the board if they would like an additional information.
So, Jared Souther, for the record, we hope you feel well, get better. The question I saw that you were planning to have a meet and greet on Saturday. How did that go? What feedback did you hear from people
Oh,
there?
yeah, it went really well. We had several people show up, just talked about local issues and, more requests for commercial development and sit-down restaurants. I gave updates on the things that are coming for that. There's a development coming in off of Golden Valley where they're putting in a new traffic light. There will be some additional shops that go in there, and hopefully there is a restaurant coming in, a sit-down restaurant. I don't want to say anything and have it fall through, so I'll kind of leave it at that. But other than that, it went really well, just discussing how to contact Reno if there's things you need to request, such as, potholes being filled or striping on the street. I know that was a subject of a public commenter's concern. You can submit to Reno Direct for that to get potholes filled and maintenance done in the area. I don't know if staff is there that could help that gentleman with access to Reno Direct. But it was a good event. It was at Superstitions Java. We will be having an event monthly going forward. But in the future, it'll be on Sundays. The next few will for sure be at Superstitions Java, but we might start moving to other locations within the ward after the first few months.
Does anyone else from the board have any questions for Megan? No? Well, we hope you feel better.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll be listening. So thank you guys.
Alrighty, the staff liaison.
Sweet. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Shine. Nice to put some names to faces. I'll be the new staff liaison for this NAB and all other NABs. I'm also the staff liaison to the planning commission. I heard some things about not receiving agendas today, so if you ever don't receive it, reach out to me. We're working on getting some campaigns out there. But yeah, happy to be here. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to help.
I do not have any questions. Does anyone have any questions? Jared?
Is there any community cleanup plans for the fall to start talking about?
Cleanup plans for the fall?
Yeah.
I believe there's at least one plan for Ward 4 in September. That's what I've heard about, but I can definitely check up on it and reach back out to you.
Yep, Kelly Ward for the record. I believe that is for the end of September, and it's at O'Brien. And then it is on the website for City of Reno.
Is that just, Kelsey Meno for the record, is that just the collection of items or not? So, but do we have any like park cleanups or anything like that are planned? Like the Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful or anything like that?
I know I have seen, I believe there's one just from my personal recollection. There's a container cleanup, I think on September 13th, so I will check out their website. But no city ones that I've seen, but I will look into that.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else?
I don't mean to interrupt Councilmember Ebert. For the record, wanted to say that we are having a community cleanup in September. I don't know if we have the exact date yet locked in. It will be posted on reno.gov and their social media as well. It will be our usual community cleanup, but we will not have Has Waste or e-waste available at this coming community cleanup. We're also going to have an additional fall festival this year. This will be the third year we've done it. The first weekend in October. It's an event we have where we have free pumpkins for the kids, food trucks, and face painting. Some booths there from local volunteer groups like Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful and Reno Food Systems. So there will be social media posts coming on that too. I'm sorry for not mentioning that earlier.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the development projects portion of the agenda. We're going to move to B2, which I don't have the name written down. Do we have someone, somebody here to go over the presentation for this?
Yeah, Yes, she'll have a presentation. Just a second. Are you starting at the end?
I didn't, forgot to read this. Did you send this out to everybody? Did anyone receive the agenda for this?
The agenda is at reno.gov/meetings, and it includes the presentation. It's the city's public meeting portal, so this is available for everyone online.
Gotcha, sorry, I'm just used to being spoiled and having it sent to me via email, so I
Yeah.
appreciate it, I'll grab it.
We sent the constant contact campaign, but I've heard from other board members that they didn't receive it. So I'll go back and double check that
Okay.
you guys are receiving that. We'll work through some of those issues.
Sounds great, thank you, I appreciate it.
All right.
You have the
Okay.
floor.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to present North Valley Storage Project to you this evening. We look forward to presenting the details of our project and hopefully answering any questions that you have. Okay, so this is just an agenda of what we'll be walking through today. First, we'll start with a quick introduction of the team, some of whom are here today available to answer any questions that we might have. And then we'll go through an overview of our company, Cypress Creek Renewables. Then we'll go into the project itself, talking about the location and the value proposition. And then after that, we'll touch on battery storage, the design and the safety features that we've included. And finally, we'll share some of the community engagement efforts that we're already involved in and how we plan to continue being good neighbors to this community. Then, of course, there'll be time for questions. So this is the team. So I'm Sohini Hafirmani. I'm the project developer for the North Valleys project. Here with us today, Aniket Shah, the development engineer. And we have Brian Watts as director of grid engineering, also Reno local, and Lauren Oltic, who is our external affairs manager. On the Zoom, we have Jennifer as well. So any environmental questions, also we have support for that too. So Cypress Creek is a developer, owner, and operator of solar and storage resources with nearly 12 gigawatts of clean energy developed across the US. Since 2014, we've built more than 850 projects, which is enough solar to power approximately 240,000 homes. We're different to some of the other developers out there because we also have an operations and maintenance business. So we are long-term partners, and we will be through the project from development, until end of life. And that portion of our business currently manages 4.8 gigawatts of projects, including third parties as well as our own fleet. We've been backed by EQT, which is a private equity company, since 2021, and we're currently at a team employee size of more than 400 people at this point. We pride ourselves on being committed to responsible development that prioritizes the unique needs of the communities that we serve. So just to give you a sense of where the project is, obviously close to where we are now, it's planned for unincorporated Washoe County off North Red Rock Road, and it's set to tie into the existing NV Energy substation. Will be approximately 200 feet, the line to connect our project to that substation. And I included the parcel ID here as well, but it'll be located on 10 acres of private land. So the details of our project are mostly up here. So it'll be a 100 megawatt battery storage project, specifically sited in this area and at this specific location to support the growing North Valleys and Spanish Springs energy demand areas. As I said, on 10 acres of private land, currently in an unincorporated transition land use area, zoned as general rural. Utility that we're interconnecting to is NV Energy. As you can see, the project would still be quite a few years out. It's still at least 3 years from construction, and would only be in operation after a year from there. So we're still quite a few years out, but wanting to introduce this project as early as we could. Oh, and on the right there is, I'll just go back to that. On the right, there is the layout. That's like a site layout plan that we have. It shows, you can see on the top right-hand corner, that's the existing substation, and you can see how close we are to that already. Yeah, so this project has specifically been cited in this area, as I said, to support the growing load in the North Valleys and Spanish Springs areas, specifically to support resiliency and reliability of the grid. So this battery will improve voltage stability. So we hope to see some reduction in lights flickering or power blips, preventing power shortages. So injecting power during system stress to reduce brownouts and outages. So designed to strengthen the grid in this local area while supporting the addition of low-cost renewable energy to the NV Energy system. And just to stress here that this is not targeted at supporting data centers. This is specifically just for this local area and supporting the grid here. So looking at property tax revenue, so we decided to look at what the existing property tax revenue at the specific parcel currently is in this current land use. And over the 35-year period of the project life that we're proposing, it would currently bring in $28,000 worth of property tax revenue. But our project would bring in $8.3 million over the life of the project. And of course, these are just estimates that we've gotten from our tax consultants at this point, based on the current assumptions that we have around taxes and levies at this point in time. So as you can see, it's like it's a significant increase to what would currently be there if we weren't building this project or if something else wasn't being built. And we've given a little breakdown here as well, because I know sometimes you see the big number and then you don't really know exactly where it goes. And I think there's even more detail that can be drilled into here, because we only have the main kind of tax buckets that we can see at this initial stage. But we can estimate that 95% of the total revenue would stay within Washoe County, and a portion of which also goes to the local schools and the local fire district. And then a smaller 5% portion would go to the state. So while I've talked about the value that this project has to the system, we also want to be mindful of it being low impact to the community that we're entering into. So minimize disturbance, and this type of facility really allows for that. Where looking at kind of the main buckets in terms of noise, it's not expected to be significant. Typically, a battery storage project is less than 80 decibels at 1 meter, and we're actually doing an acoustical study right now, so we'll have more details to provide if anyone is interested. In about a couple of weeks, I think we'll have the full report that would basically outline the expected sound level, and if any mitigations are required, like that's what we'll follow, and we'll work with the city to make sure that it's at the levels that it should be. But initial read doesn't look like it's going to exceed too much, especially during the daytime minimum level. In terms of visual impact, we have a landscape screening plan that we've worked on with a consultant, but it really also depends on what works with the city, what they think we should be doing in this area. Because as you know, there's not really much around there. But if visual screening is needed to obscure the best from the public roadway, there are many different options that we can consider, including fencing, mesh screen, vegetation, to try and kind of hide this from view if we need to. Traffic is also, something that generally is a big concern, but our project is not going to have that concern at all. We did a traffic study already, and the peak maximum amount of traffic will be in the first 6 to 8 weeks of construction. That's going to be 8 to 12 trucks a day, and that's the absolute maximum, and for a minimal amount of time. Once we're in the operational period, there'll only be 1 to 2 utility trips per month. So there really won't be any impact to traffic once we're past the construction stage. So water usage as well, obviously another big concern. Unlike water intensive developments, like, I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of hyperscale data centers, battery storage facilities, in contrast, typically consume a negligible amount of water during operation as they rely on electrical or thermal systems and sealed cooling loops. So we don't need water at all, really. We need some during construction, but it's not a huge amount. So going into the batteries themselves, Cypress Creek has a proven track record of safe operation of energy generation facilities, including battery storage. Today's batteries are designed with multiple safety layers and strict national fire codes. For example, UL 9540A and NFPA 855. They're both fire codes that, they have pretty stringent requirements that we are required to follow and that which battery manufacturers are required to follow. On top of that, we also have a 24/7 monitoring control center that is able to see all of our sites uptime, and it's remote. We have a center in North Carolina, but they're able to track track the systems in real time, ensuring there's any rapid response to any anomaly that they see coming up during operation. As a standard practice, Cypress Creek will also train and coordinate directly with local fire personnel. We've already engaged with Truckee Meadows and Reno Fire about this project specifically to ensure that we're aware of any concerns they might have. And both sides are not, both entities are not concerned at all. They familiarize themselves with this type of facility, and they don't see it as alarming. It's also important to note that even though cumulative development of batteries has increased exponentially since 2018, so just that graph on the top right, you can see that it's gone up a lot, but the failure rate has decreased significantly. So that orange line that's gone pretty much all the way to zero over the same period of time. So that's an interesting point to note. So we take safety very seriously at every stage of battery storage. Each site is equipped with multiple layers of safety, both electrical and mechanical, to prevent and mitigate any potential hazards. With redundant protections and constant oversight, inherently safer battery chemistry, we're committed to delivering reliable energy storage with safety and transparency at the forefront. Risk is mitigated through gas detection and module design, thermal runaway is avoided through spacing, fire sensors, and heat removal mechanisms. We have the most recent technology and state-of-the-art battery fire suppression systems. All CCR batteries are containerized, meaning they're more efficient due to the cooling system that's inside of each container. Containers have a defined space between them to greatly reduce the fire risk, but Cypress Creek goes above and beyond even with that, just as an additional layer of safety. There's an additional spacing that we have within our systems. So SunGrow batteries is the batteries that we've modeled for this project, and they've all been tested for propagation and large-scale burn testing before they've even been delivered to any of our sites, and to date, this has never failed. So they've been through a rigorous amount of testing already. At Cypress Creek, we take pride in being good neighbors and strive to go above and beyond to support the communities where we're developing projects. We've already engaged with the local community, including a partnership with the North Valleys Family Resource Center, where we made a $10,000 donation. We actually visited that center this morning and took a tour of the facility and learned about the great work that they do, and it's truly amazing. We're also members of the Reno and Sparks Chamber of Commerce and are engaged with EDAWN. And this year, we launched our Energizing Tomorrow's Leaders Scholarship Program. We've been doing this program at Cypress Creek for the last 3 years. This is the first year we've done it in Washoe County, and we awarded 2 high school students $25,000 each as a scholarship towards their college education.
Sorry, 6:30.
And we've also started an annual sponsorship with Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful too. So all these actions really demonstrate how much we're committed to supporting the communities where we build. To summarize, the North Valleys project will bring stronger energy reliability, millions in local funding, and committed to minimizing local impacts to this community. Thank you for your time and appreciate being here and invite any questions.
Thank you very much. So we're gonna start with questions off from the board. Like I've been doing the last couple of meetings, instead of everyone just kind of going back and forth, just go down the line one at a time. If everyone's okay with that? Sorry if you're at the end and not at the beginning.
I prefer it.
Okay. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Sorry, Ben Johnson for the record. I do have two questions. The first one is, what is the cooling system that the batteries are using?
Yeah, I'm gonna invite our engineers to come up here to talk more in detail about
I
that.
can talk.
Oh, you can, yeah.
Yeah, basically the cooling systems that we have are inbuilt inside the containers, and it's not a container level cooling system, but more of a module level cooling system. So there are like 48 modules in one Connex container kind of thing, and each module has its own cooling system, which is basically 50% water and 50% propylene alcohol. So it's just a mixture of that, and it's inside the module, and it basically keeps the module cool throughout the operation.
Okay, what, do you know what the, oh, I can't remember what the name of the code is for the alcohol that you use. Is that considered, a hazardous material?
Yeah, that is not hazardous material, and even the container that we have is IP65 rated. So what that particularly means is that nothing basically comes out of it, nothing goes in from all the direction, even if it's pressurized onto that container. So whatever is inside the container stays in, but nevertheless, it's not a classical hazardous material like that usually happens in other chemistries and in batteries, which usually it's not the lithium iron phosphates that this uses.
Got it. And then the last question. So if there's a problem with the site, catastrophic failure happens, we'll insert whatever that is. How long will it take for someone to come on site to fix it? So I'm imagining this is it runs itself to a degree, probably not having 10 people operating the site at all times. I was just curious, if there is an issue up in the North Valleys, are we going to rely on the Reno Fire Department to immediately deal with any catastrophic failure, or do you guys have contractors within, a short window that can come out and deal with the problems?
If it's a fire issue, I think Reno Fire will be called anyway, and we met with them today. And yeah, they're supportive of this type of development. They know exactly where it is. They know, like, I don't know exactly the amount of minutes that it would take for them to get there, and that's definitely information we can follow up with. But yeah, they're aware, and as I said, as we get closer to actually constructing and developing the site, we'll be doing trainings with their team. We've already started talking about that with them. We'll also be working on an emergency response plan, so all of those details will be in there. But we are 3 years out still, so yeah, we're obviously still thinking about these things already, but we haven't quite ironed out all the details yet.
Thank you.
So as you said, like the emergency response plan that we have basically lines down to this detail as to who is going to be the first responder and until what time would they respond and how would they respond and stuff like that, just a little later in the stage. But we have done that for all our projects, and it's typically have been under one hour, couple of hours just for other people to come, but first responders are even quicker to basically.
Thank you very much.
To our presenters, just before you speak, can you state your name for the record or
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Maybe it would be helpful also from the electrical side. I'm Brian Watts. For people that aren't familiar with how this type of infrastructure works, there are constant systems 24/7, 365 monitoring the electrical behavior. If for whatever reason there was some sort of electrical anomalous behavior, there are breakers that will trip it quicker than the blink of an eye. So if for whatever reason there were a fault, something were to happen, it will instantaneously trip. Our control center will know about it as soon as it happens. And it will self-isolate from any sort of electrical problems that could occur either on the grid side or on the battery side.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I was more picturing a drunk driver driving right through your fence going 80 miles an hour and hitting one of your Connex containers, and lo and behold, it's a $10,000 truck, and it breaks through it and breaks open the seals or something. That's kind of what I was getting at, more than, something shorting out. So that was, all right, Kelly?
Okay, so my name is Kelly Orr for the record, and my questions are a little bit layered. I don't know who can help me answer those. So just to let the panel know too, this is, I think, Rosenberg, Texas, outside where you guys have this out. So there's a cow farm and stuff like that when they sell land off. They're doing that. I think researching your company, you guys have done a lot of great work. My concerns for this area is, have you guys studied the effects with working with the fire department? What happens when there is a wildlife fire, or like he said, a fire that comes into this area, and properly trained? I know you said you're gonna be working with the fire departments, but train them like you have in your facility. I think you have a similar facility in California. So do you have anything to show like what those plans, what you use in that state and at that site? Because it's also 100, I think it's a similar site plan. So I'm just curious if you had any of that information.
Thank you for the question, Sohini Hathiramani. Do you mean you'd like to see like examples of other projects where we have an emergency response plan and like all of those things included?
Yes, that's what I would expect. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, we can definitely follow up with an example of why we've done that elsewhere, because as Annika said, it's a standard to have that for our projects.
Myself, Aniket Shah. So in addition to those, like as a typical thing that we do for all the projects is like we have emergency response plan, but in addition to that, we have mitigation plans and the other plans as to which layout as to how decommissioning would happen and stuff like that, which actually lays down all the details as to what's going to happen and who's going to respond and who is responsible for what, basically. But generally speaking, these containers that we have, they are fire rated. So even if there's fire outside, that's not going to affect. It's going to stop working because we don't want any additional risk as a hazard mitigation thing. It's going to stop working instantaneously, but nothing's going to, happen per se. There's no adverse effect even if the fire's outside. They're fire rated. And even water rated, similar thing. If anything happens, as a matter of fact, if it happens, they are transported being, submerged inside the water. That's how they are transported across the world. So they are fire and water rated. So sure.
No, thank you. The reason why I asked too is a lot of, just for your general knowledge, a lot of people that do live here in this zip code lose their homeowner's insurance because of the fire risks. So the risk is heavy, and that's why I think we're all very shocked, maybe a little concerned that we want to put something here that if it does catch on fire is harder to put out and may cause larger issues. So thank you for that information.
Thanks for the.
Amit?
Hi, I'm Jared Souther. You've shared with us that you want to support resiliency and that you're being built adjacent to NV Energy, but you've not yet explained how you coexist, or how does that store? Like, is it coming from the power lines you store, or how does the batteries really work to support resiliency in our community?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Jared. So just for everybody's background, I used to work at NV Energy in their transmission planning department, spent a little over 6 years doing interconnection studies, grid planning. One of the tasks that I had was addressing the growing load growth in the North Valleys area. That's why shortly after I joined the company, one of the first things we did was start developing this project. And really kind of the long story short out here is that there's a transmission system that serves, it kind of goes from the Tracy area, it bridges over north of Spanish Springs, comes down here by Red Rock, where we're at right now, goes down South Stead, and then ends up kind of by UNR. Everybody that's in that area is really served by the same section of the transmission system. As we continue to see load growth, the system is getting more and more stressed. It's reaching to the point where there's concerns about the ability to long-term serve capacity needs. That was something I was tasked with. And I put together a series of plans on potential ways to solve the problem. This is a way to solve the problem by installing a battery such that we would be arbitraging energy. Of course, when we get home, we all fire up our TVs, fire up the AC, the peak demand goes up, and then at night, of course, our demand goes down as we need less of that. So the idea here is that we would contract with NV Energy, and during times of low demand, they would use energy from their grid to charge the battery, and then during times of high demand, they would then use that energy to help serve some of this load. So this is a way to increase the load serving capability of the transmission system, in addition to providing things like local voltage response, which you can't do through other means without having to build new transmission lines. So that's kind of the big picture. That's the goal here.
So NV Energy is building a new facility on North Virginia between Stead and Red Rock. They're talking about adding a line around Peavine Mountain in the next few years. Is this the only site that you're planning to build in Washoe County at this time?
So, yeah, at Cypress Creek, this is our only current development in Washoe County.
The question about this presentation is you've not yet shared, I don't remember seeing a slide with the surrounding community, the zoning and planned development in your surrounding parcels. Normally a developer will do that. I know Lifestyle Homes has plans to build homes. We have the Light and Lithium plant coming to the north part of the airport here. So I see strategically why you're doing it, but I just feel like that would be something that would be well to present as you seek approval from the Planning Commission and City Council.
John?
Yeah, John White. I'm wondering if system's pretty static. Once it's charged up, it sets, there's not a lot of moving parts or other things you can see like transformers. Those are always a problem. They've had people vandalizing that stuff all over California for decades, because all the ceramics and the problems there. How about cyber hacking? Does that pose any sort of problem of stopping the functioning of any part of it would increase temperatures or cause damage to the system?
Aniket, sure. Yeah, so basically that is something that we do take very seriously, and the control center that we have is a FERC kind of recognized control center that controls this. So we have those security in places so that doesn't happen. Although that is not a public risk per se, because there's nothing that can happen after the hack. So that's not a public risk. That's more of an operational risk that we have. So, but nevertheless, we do take it that thing very seriously, and we have measures in place to ensure that.
Now, the units themselves, I know people in this area, I would never think of myself, have a habit of shooting at signs, let alone something like this could be attractive as far as people using high-powered rifles just for the heck of it, shooting at. Can this be seriously damaged by a high-velocity bullet?
That's a nice question, Aniket. Again, I can speak to it a little. If you can go a little slides back. Yeah, the check mark one that we had, the test check marks that we had.
I don't know if Mike, because.
So yeah, definitely we would not like that as an operational facility of that idea happening. But if you see, we have the nail penetration test and crush and drop test. So of course, that's going to stop batteries from working, but it's not, again, a hazard or a fire hazard that is going to.
If something fails, then they reset the standards.
Yeah.
So Ryan Watts, coming from the utility side, this was something that we had to look at. There are certain facilities that reach certain thresholds for critical infrastructure protection. There are things like bulletproof walls that can be installed and things of that nature that can be installed in some of these situations specifically to prevent that concern. They are installed in some cases. I can't speak to whether that decision has been made here, but it is something the industry is aware of. There are mitigations in place that have been tested.
But again, that would be something that we would not want, but it's not a hazard whatsoever. Even if that happens, like battery stops working, nothing goes off.
Right. That's all.
Thank you.
Larissa Beating for the record. You guys, I know this is early in the stages, but you guys just mentioned contracting with Nevada Energy. And I guess my question is, do we know how that's going to circle back to the consumers as like in our bills and in fees and such in the future?
Yeah, so NV Energy, as part of their long-term planning process, they have to do with their IRP, their integrated resource plan. And as part of that integrated resource plan, they will look at the long-term system the long-term system needs. They will identify any requirements they need as far as investments that show up in the ratepayer bill, and then they have to demonstrate that to the PUC. So NV Energy has gone through their integrated resource plan, and they have identified the need to interconnect, a minimum number of renewable energy generators. They have identified the need for energy storage. So, this is a potential storage project that we are offering to sell to NV Energy, and really a key piece of integrating storage here in Northern Nevada right now is we have so much solar potential, but we don't have enough storage to absorb all of that. So right now, a gating item for interconnecting more solar is adding more storage. So in order to help facilitate the interconnection of more low-cost solar, adding storage is a key piece of that. So we really see this as helping facilitate the interconnection of more low-cost solar, while also helping address the local reliability needs of this growing area.
Can you say your name for the record again?
Sorry, Brian Watts.
Thank you.
I'll try to remember next time.
Ernie Birdie for the record. Considering where you guys are gonna be placing this out, since we do have a lot of wildfires that happen here spontaneously, lightning strikes in that matter, who's gonna be responsible for maintaining fire break around the property to mitigate fire damage or anything like that for the batteries?
You mean like vegetation management?
Vegetation,
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
We have a good winter, spring pops up.
Yeah.
Lots of vegetation.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And as I mentioned, we're a long-term partner to the communities where we operate. We have an operations and maintenance business, and part of what they do is vegetation management. We're very aware of fire risks here and everywhere. And that's taken into account when those vegetation management plans are made. It's specifically for the sites and like the external environment, the additional risks that might be here versus elsewhere. It's very much taking all of that into account. And whether it's once a year or once every 6 months that they come back out to make sure that the vegetation hasn't grown out, like they'll determine that at the time, but we are the ones that will be long-term maintaining the site.
Okay, my other question I have is, when we consider, let me think catch my train again. You were mentioning solar. Are there plans to eventually put more solar closer to the batteries out here? I mean, we're in Nevada, we know we have lots of sunny days. I think solar farms are really a good idea, especially if you're gonna place them very close to a battery facility.
Yeah, I mean, for this site, no, because this is specifically, we have an interconnection agreement with NV Energy only for this battery. And we really cite solar projects where we need thousands of acres of land. And we have other projects in Northern Nevada, not in Washoe County, where we're also developing hybrid projects, so solar and storage, but they're definitely not here.
Okay. Thank you, that's it.
Kelsey Meno for the record. Ultimately, the plan is to have NV Energy own this building? Is that a misunderstanding on my part?
We would be the owners, but we would sell them the energy.
Gotcha,
We have a
okay.
contract with them.
Okay, so, let's see. I'm just looking at my questions depending on what the answer was to that. So, like what was said earlier, would any of those savings be passed on to the consumer? Is it just in this area, like our neighborhood, or is that for all of Washoe County? What would that look like?
Yeah, so Ryan Watts here. So the rate making process, is very complicated. Ultimately, if NV Energy contracts with this project, this would become part of their portfolio. And as part of the rate making process, any cost savings from this facility would be incorporated into that rate making process. So when they develop the rate making, they have to justify why they're asking for the rates that they do. They have a legally regulated rate of return. That's the maximum that they can return. And then they have to present that to the PUC. So, any of those cost savings ultimately would show up to all of us as Northern Nevada ratepayers as part of that rate making process.
Okay. And then, I apologize, I'm just looking at my notes that I have been making. And then if I had any additional questions, could I just send it to you, or who's the best person to reach out to?
Yeah.
Probably, Lauren, do you guys handle that?
Yeah, so.
We have an email address actually just like for this project, which we both monitor that works for. Or directly, like I can give you my business.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. And if there were, because power outages happen a lot up here, is that something that, like, would we benefit, like the community benefit, or would that strictly be like businesses that are gonna be benefiting first, or what would that look like?
Sure, Ryan Watts, I'll try not to get too engineering on you guys, but, so like, power outages can occur for a variety of reasons, right? It could be somebody hits a pole with a semi truck, it could be a wildfire rolls through and a line has to be de-energized for safety purposes. So I don't want to make any commitments to like specific situations or things like that because the system is so complicated. But this facility being able to dynamically provide support to the local grid will reduce the probability of transmission cost outages. So those could be things like if a weather event requires NV Energy to take an outage of a transmission line for some period of time, this could be used to help support the grid instead of, say, turning off load if that's what's required. Or if you have an extremely hot day that is well beyond what was forecasted, this is an opportunity to then fill in the gap using the battery in this area, as opposed to having to load shed, because there are times from NV Energy's perspective, they either have to turn down the load or they have to add power. They can't build transmission lines overnight, but they can dispatch the battery in real time to solve that problem. So probability weighted, it should improve the reliability, but of course I can't commit to any specific situations.
Okay, no, that sounds great. And then I guess because I'm curious, why isn't NV Energy investing in this directly? Why would you guys be taking on that risk? Because this seems like a really risky thing to invest in.
Yeah, we're being recorded. We as a developer, have a different set of incentives than NV Energy does. NV Energy likes to procure new projects like this, typically through their competitive procurement processes. So they will hold these requests for proposals. We as developers will bid into them with these types of projects. So this is a case where NV Energy is really relying on the market to fill that need. And we feel as though we have filled a unique market need with this product compared to some of the other competitor proposals that may be out there. For the most part, this is not the type of thing that NV Energy will do themselves to solve these problems, but we are pitching this as an alternative to, other ways to address these problems.
Gotcha. So it's not something that they're actively seeking, but it is an alternative to what they are looking for.
Yeah, so they are actively trying to solve their capacity problem out here, and they are evaluating different options to do so. Building new transmission lines is very difficult, it's expensive, it's time consuming. We believe that this is a way to help solve that problem, more quickly, while also delivering cost savings by helping support, the interconnection of more renewables.
That's all I have for now, but I'd love to have your cards so I can, if I have any other additional questions.
Definitely.
So,
Thank you. One last round. Does anyone have any other questions? I'm good. Over here. Okay. Does anyone in the public would like to make a comment or ask a question? If you do,
My name is
please.
Marisa Evans. And what is the lifespan of these battery storage, facilities? You said like it will generate over 35 years, it will generate that much of a tax revenue, but how long are these batteries actually working?
Aniket, sure, I can speak to that. So we have a plan basically to make them work for the whole lifespan that we are basically committing to. And a lot of times, which is a normal practice that we do, that even as we move forward, so there are going to be, some batteries are going to degrade because of the time, and we would put the new ones with the newest, safety codes in and newest technology in to keep that going. So it's not that we put them and then we just let them work as much as they would. We actively plan on solving that, and we actively plan on putting new batteries in place which have been degraded over the whole life, so that we make sure that we are committing, or we are basically producing the same that we are producing in year 0 that we will produce in year 3. For the whole lifespan that we commit with NV Energy, now that depends on how that particular agreement goes, but whatever lifespan we commit to the NV Energy, maybe 35 years, 35 years, we would.
And I hope you would also have like a ways of responsibly recycling materials.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. We have the moving forward, we have all the decommissioning plans in place. Like if let's say a particular container is not needs to be moved or it's not going to produce, and if the plant going to decommission, we have the whole plan in place as to how that would be decommissioned from that. We're not going to move. Yeah.
The gentleman here mentioned that, the rising temperatures are a problem in this area. How hot or warm do you expect these batteries to get from just operating? And could they contribute to the warming effect of the valley?
I can speak to it. You want to comment? Okay, okay. Yeah, so basically, the thing is that these batteries do not get as heated. And first of all, they do not contribute to heating the environment per se. So it's not that them working would basically lead to higher temperature deltas for the Nevadian region or something like that. Like they have active cooling mechanisms in them. On the second, that's a secondary point. They have active cooling mechanisms, which would basically make them work less than, we don't want them to work over 40 degrees whatsoever. So we make sure that they work less than 40 degrees. So they're always regulated, but nevertheless, they do not basically, do any change upon the temperatures in the surrounding regions of Nevada in general, or Knoxville in general. It's basically, that's more of a global warming problem. And maybe if we look at it, we are kind of solving it with the renewables. So if there are more renewables, ultimately, maybe temperature will go down, but it's not going to increase the temperature.
You're talking 40 degrees centigrade, right?
Yeah. But that is internal working temperature of the battery. It's not like if I'm standing a meter away from the battery, I'm going to feel 40. No, it's just inside working temperature. The containers are going to be at whatever the surrounding
You're
temperature
cooling
is.
down with electricity.
Yeah, we have active cooling mechanisms, which is basically water and the glycol that we talked about. So it'll cool down the cells, but it's not gonna add to any heat to the surrounding.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that has a question in regards to this development?
Ron Christian Hughes,
But
what kind of equipment is needed to put one of those things out if it catches fire?
Aniket Shah. Basically, we just had a meet with Reno Fire today as well, and these are one of the safest to kind of handle. They're one of the safest places they would want a fire to be handled, because like they're very localized fire. Even if fire happens, which is worst of the rarest of the rare cases, even if that happens, it's a very localized thing and it's not spreading. So all they have to take care is to babysit it, let it die down on its own. We do not advise having spraying water on this, because it's electrically powered and adding water only exacerbates the situation. So
So there's no way to put it out, just let it burn out.
Yeah, basically it just basically burns out, and it's a very localized thing. It never burns. The battery has not burnt in all the testings that I've done. At max, it's just a smoke and it stops working. And even the SunGrow that the battery we procure, because they have been deployed so many places and they did not have a burn, even one flame kind of incident. They basically put flame on the battery to basically do this test, and they tested it out, and they're like, okay, we would certify it that even if it were to have flame on it, they put additionally flames on it to make it burn. But even if it were to have it's localized, then it'll just die down. So there's no propagation of flames. There's nothing else burning with it, and yeah, basically.
There's hazardous materials coming out of that flame, isn't there?
Aniket Shah again. So that is the NMC batteries that you're talking about, where when they burn, they have hazardous gases coming out and stuff like that. We have reports and stuff which basically have done those tests. They have basically burned them and see what gases come out, and 50% of those is just hydrogen. So it's way no hazardous gases comes out of it whatsoever, and those two are very localized and in a very small fraction basically. So that's not contributing toward flames, no hazardous effect to the lungs or people being there. And yeah,
It's lithium ion battery, correct?
lithium ion phosphate batteries, yeah.
And how many BTUs does one of those cooling systems put out?
How many BTUs the cooling system put out? So basically, it's not in the BTU sense, but more like each module has like some 50 kilowatt hours or something, that energy. And when they basically work, they're enough to basically cool down the module that they're working with to keep them under 35 degrees centigrade is what we would want. But it's not actively cooling all the containers, so we don't particularly measure them with that.
You're running the coolant through a radiator?
Sorry?
You run the coolant
Sorry, we're gonna need to move on, okay, sir? Well, last one, so if you have a question, be quick, okay?
Okay, thank you. I just was curious if you guys would put like a recycling, like a binding recycling, portion in your contract instead of just like a promise, but have it as part of your contract, if that's something that's being considered.
You mean, like a battery recycling? Like,
Yeah, just because of the amount of waste that it generates.
Yeah, I mean, like we would definitely have that in like a decommissioning plan. We're like responsibly, like we have standards in place for, even if it's not required, you know, removal of equipment from the ground and things like that at the end of the project life. And definitely we want to look at battery recycling when it comes to that.
Okay.
Thank you. We're gonna move on. Thank you very much for your presentation. Oh,
I just wanted to know if you might be contracting with Redwood Materials to recycle that.
We would definitely consider,
They're a gigantic battery.
Yeah.
Recycling.
Yeah, we would definitely consider that.
Can you say your name for the record?
Wayne Pearson.
Thanks, Lee. And, all right, we're gonna move on to, C on the agenda. Board, committee member reports and announcements. Does anyone on the board have any announcements? Anything you want to say? Ben John Square, I have none.
Kelly Orr for the record, I have none.
You went up to tell everybody, but no, seeing none, okay. We're gonna move on to D. Future agenda items. Does anyone on the board have any future agenda items? Would they like to bring forth a possibly here at the board?
Kelly Orr for the record, I would like to see how the food truck Thursdays went for our board and, any other future plans for our ward with food trucks and events.
Okay.
I like 7. Who, John White here. NV Energy come out and explain about cutting the power off. That little bit of fire they had, shut my power off for almost 10 hours. And I don't know how their grid's set up, but they need to improve it. Because I don't see how what I was using had anything to do with the fire. But I don't like being out at night in the summertime.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else?
Larissa Banning for the record. I know council member touched on it earlier, the development in Golden, but I don't recall ever hearing like what's going in, and it sounds like she doesn't want to like say too much yet, which I totally understand, but maybe in the future, when we know more, having some people come out and maybe discuss that with us, just so we have an idea of what to expect there, because traffic's already kind of a nightmare. So I'd love to know what businesses are being talked about being put there and how that could affect prime traffic times. Or
Ernie Burdick. I have a question. It concerns Reno PD. Are they any plans right now? I know that they dispatch from the local police department. And a lot of times it can take a long time for them to get up here, especially with the traffic jams that we have on 395. Are they having any plans or thoughts of putting in the substations so there could be a quicker response? The gentleman talked about earlier, there's an awful lot of ATV off-road vehicles running up and down our streets quickly. And I mean like going way over the speed limit, in addition to vehicles and other things. I live right across from the park, as you know. And this time of year, now that school has gotten back into session, it's not quite so bad, but during the summer, we have a lot of kids. They have a park thing going on every Wednesday. And it draws a lot of kids out of the neighborhood, and it can be quite dangerous trying to cross Stead Boulevard. There is no crosswalk. Again, I'm bringing it up to get to the park locally, because where you live, I haven't even seen a crosswalk down there.
Yeah.
You get across. The only one we have is way down at the end of the corner, where the bus stop is. And it's not convenient for this whole neighborhood.
Thank you, and to pivot on that, Ben Johnson for the record, for future agenda items, it's all right, to actually say that, when the next time we'll have a update from Reno, Police Department, Reno PD. So I guess an update on when they'll come down to speak to some of the questions we have.
Yeah, I'd like
And
to
then-
hear I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then on top of that, the other thing would be for crosswalks. If you ever have a request for that, my wife has been doing a lot of that right now for crosswalks on Stead Boulevard. She walks her son, my oldest, to kindergarten now, it's his first year. And she has to walk all the way down Stead to cross the street with a 5-year-old instead of more convenient areas. So Reno Direct, you can put those in and they take a look at it. And the more people who actually go to those sites and ask for crosswalks and traffic studies for what's needed, the more likely it will for stuff like that.
I have done that through Reno Connect. And I talked to the city engineer who said that the problem is that they don't have a crosswalk put in there because there's no sidewalk on the property extending where your housing development is.
Yes.
All the way down to the corner of Lear. I mean, there's a little bit of sidewalk by those apartments, but then as soon as you cross the street to go to the ballpark in the back, that sidewalk ends right there where the bus stop is. And he says we can't put in a crosswalk because there is no sidewalk on the other side.
Yeah.
So the problem really becomes, city owns the property of the park. We need to have a sidewalk put in.
Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
This Eric Souther.
Roger.
It has been several months since we've met, and I would love to have RTC and NDOT be here with us to talk about updates and to talk about feedback that's happening. We were promised that 395 phase 1B would be done originally by the end of this year, but now we're looking at least next year for it to be finished. And it concerns me with winter approaching in a few months that traffic will be in much more upheaval than it is on a dry day like yesterday, where it took an hour to get into town. So I would love that.
Any other future agenda items you'd like to see?
Do you have Councilmember Eber with her hand raised online? Councilmembers would like to unmute your mic and speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to circle back about the Golden Valley development. I can ask the builders to come. I don't know, again, if I should talk about the businesses that they're bringing in, but they can definitely come in and talk more about what's happening there at that location. Apparently, it's been a 7 years long process for that project to move forward due to traffic design at that area because it's so close to the 395 exit. So it's kind of been in the works a long time. They might have come to a NAB a very long time ago, but I'll ask them to come and give another presentation. And NDOT and RTC, just for everybody's awareness, I have a request in for RTC to give quarterly updates at least. NDOT is more difficult to get to come in, but I try to have them come in at least twice a year. But with RTC, there's a lot of projects going in. There are areas that are going to get sidewalks like Military Road in its expansion. And when they put traffic lights in, it's going to have sidewalks and a separated bike lane on each way. So there's a lot of projects coming and changes. And I know there's a light going in at the corner of North Hills and Buck. So there's a lot of things happening. And I know that there's a lot of frustration with the 395 construction. So I will definitely work on getting both of them into a NAB as soon as possible. But just wanted to let you know, it is a little more difficult to get NDOT to come in. But RTC is absolutely willing to come in on a quarterly basis and just kind of give status updates on those things. And also, you know, I totally understand the frustration with some of these areas not having sidewalks. That's something really good to bring up, not with just Reno Direct, but also with RTC. A lot of these roads are RTC roads. So ultimately, their responsibility is on them to put in these sidewalks and safety features and stop signs and things like that, or to partner more with the city of Reno. So just want to let you guys know, I hear your request. We'll work on getting those as soon as possible. And if there's any specific roads, like I know there was a couple mentioned, if you guys can just let staff know, we could get, more specific information on those areas as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Unless anyone has any issues with that. All right, we're gonna go on to the last portion of public comment. You have another disclaimer or?
No, if you are a Zoom attendee and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand. Got one if you'd like to go.
Yeah, let's go ahead with the Zoom.
Okay, Robert Listener, when you're ready, unmute your mic and state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Hey, Robert.
Okay. Unmute. Okay. Can you hear me? That's my question.
Go ahead and state your name for the record.
Okay. Well, all right. This is Bob Listener, and I just driving in from Lemon Valley this afternoon about 3 o'clock, and I observed that northbound 395, the new construction on the northbound side, that there's 4 lanes right now. There's 2 going north and 2 going south. And I believe it was scheduled for 3 lanes total. But since they built 4, maybe our city council member could push them to keep those 4 lanes when they finally get the other side going. I hope I made sense.
Your comment, Mr. Listener? All right.
Chair Salad for the record, just to clarify, Bob, if you can hear me, Bob, they're right now cutting out the old pavement on the southbound, and that's why they moved traffic over to get the work done faster. But we will have, I believe, 4 lanes, 3 lanes in auxiliary going north once project's complete.
All right. Is there anyone in the public who would like to take a public comment? Seeing none at this time, we're gonna move on to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
John White makes a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Kelly Orr makes motion second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.